Hello everybody, my name is Vera, this is Vera Reads, and today I want to share with you an update on my TBR bingo. First of all, pardon my appearance. I am slightly ill, so I just want to be comfy and warm. I have the heating on, I have the laundry going, I have my dehumidifier. I love my 30s. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is that it's almost the end of the year, and at the beginning of the year I decided to take a look at my Storygraph TBR, sat myself down and said this cannot go forward any longer in this way. I had over 150 books on my digital TBR on top of, I don't even want to know how many books on my physical TBR. And I don't like that personally, because I feel like all the books that I put on my digital TBR are books that I want to eventually get to. And if I have too many there, I will forget about them. So I decided that in order to be mindful and be intentional with what I was putting on my digital TBR and what was on it, I wanted to create a bingo board that would make me more excited to just go and look at my digital TBR and kind of like go look for specific books that I might have forgotten were there, but that would fit a specific prompt. Pretty straightforward. I don't know why it took me so long to explain it. It's just a bingo, guys. It's just a bingo. As I was saying, it's almost the end of the year, and I will definitely not be able to do the whole bingo, to do the tombola. But I've tackled a lot. Let's start with sharing what the prompts were. And these were just prompts that were, some of them were linked to other goals that I had for the year. Some of them were to make me tackle specific books that I knew were kind of forgotten, or that were a bit overlooked by the shiny new books that I was putting on the TBR. Prompt number 1, shortest book. For this book, I put as read A Blood Condition by Chingonyi, which was an amazing poetry collection. Loved it. And it was, at the time that I put it on the bingo, it was the shortest book on my digital TBR. Of course, if after that I put a book that was even shorter, I did not dismiss this one. Second one is most anticipated book. I still haven't fulfilled that, but I think if I were to fulfill it, it would be by reading Isabella Nag and The Pot of Basil by Oliver Darkshire, because I have been looking forward to that book for a while and I just haven't read it yet. Number 3 is fantasy, and I put Silver in the Wood by Tesh, Emily Tesh, I think. Because there's so little space, I just put the initial and the last name of the author. Great short book about a forest man that's like, I love the mythology of that book. I'm not gonna go in depth with all the books because this video would be even longer, but it's a great book. It has some queer rep. I love the mythology of it, and I love that type of fantasy specifically. Number 4 is Book with a Pretty Cover. I've read a lot of books that would have fulfilled this prompt, but I might have put them on another prompt that was harder to fill. I think this I might fill by the end of the year, because there are some books on my end of year TBR that are from my digital TBR and do have a pretty cover. So this I might fill out. I don't know. Number 5 is book by a BIPOC author, and I put Under a Soprano Sky by Sanchez. I want to say Sonia Sanchez. She's a poet, and I found her poetry and I was like, I had this book for a long time on my TBR. Maybe I should put that as most anticipated book, and then I can put Remote Control on there. No, listen, I've already started this video. Let's not mix things up, because I do that sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, but the book I read would be good to fulfill a prompt I've already fulfilled, and then I could move that to another prompt that I'm finding hard to fill. So I do that sometimes, but I will not do it here. So Sonia Sanchez, amazing poet. I love her poetry. I want to read more by her. The only thing is that I cannot find any of her books anywhere. This book, I had to go on the Internet Archive and borrow it from the Internet Archive because I could not find it anywhere. Then number 6 is sci-fi, and for that I put R.U.R. by Čapek, I want to say. It's a play about automatons, and it was the first time in a play that the term robot was used. It's more philosophical than technological, actually, but it does present the issue of artificial intelligence, just not in a way, because it was, I want to say, early 1900s or something like that, maybe even earlier. So it's not really applicable to how we think about artificial intelligence, but it is still quite an interesting play. Not the best, but interesting to read. Then number 7, we have some queer rap. I put Bright Fear by Mary Jean Chan. Poetry collection of the... it is not the poetry collection of the year. I've read so many good poetry collections this year. I started reading poetry this year, and I'm so happy. Like, poetry is cool, man. Poetry is just so cool. But yeah, it's really queer as a poetry collection in a way that it's universal. Which might be contradictory, but I don't care. It is what it is. It's like the universal human experience and a great queer representation, you know. Then we have number 8, poetry. We have Chick by Hannah Lowe, I want to say. Again, another poetry collection about childhood in working class London, and it's a lot of daddy issues and a lot of like community based poetry. It was alright. I've read better poetry collections throughout the year, but when I read it, I had just started reading poetry collections, so I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. But yeah, I think it's good. Not Mary Jean Chan, you know. Then number 9, we have newest addition to the TBR. Again, that was at the time of putting the stamp on. It was the newest addition to the TBR, and it was Sultana's Dream by Hossain. And it was a utopian short story by this Indian author. And it was a feminist utopia, and it was, I think, early 20th century, something like that, and I loved it. And I read the collection it was in was with some other essays by this author. That she was a great educator and a great activist for women's rights in India during her time, and it was truly so cool. And I love utopian fiction, so I loved this short story. And it was also sci-fi, which again, it's not like feminist utopian sci-fi. What a great combo. Then we have number 10, modern classic. I put Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, highlight of the year. I cannot understand how it took me this long to read Things Fall Apart, because it had been on my TBR for a long while, but I truly loved it. Masterpiece. Then we have an older classic that I only just recently read, The Lais of Marie de France by Marie de France, which was 12th century literature, and it was funny because again the Lais are, I don't know. In Italy we have a word for it, which is canzoni, which is translated to songs, but I don't think it's other like a good translation. It's basically like short stories that are kind of like fables, but about knights and queens and kings, and they're meant to be like romantic and fun and like cautionary tales, a bunch of stuff, and it was just fun to read them. It was a good translation for all I know, but yes. Then we have number 12 is historical fiction, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzi Lee. It's the second book in the, oh my god, I should know this, Montgomery siblings, something like that. And it's a YA historical fiction. I really loved it. I liked the first one better, but the second one had pirates and lesbians, so it's really nice. 13 is just the free spot, which I might put like at the end of the year, whatever is left over, because I have a couple of books that I wasn't able to put anywhere because they were double, they would have fit a prompt that was already filled. I will put one of them there to try and complete and do another bingo. Then number 14 we have trans intersex non-binary author, and I put Model Home by River Solomon, which is a horror, like a modern horror / family thriller / coming of age kind of type of thing. It was really interesting. I want to read something else by River Solomon, which is The Deep, that has mermaids. I want to read that, and then I will see if, because the writing style wasn't 100% my vibe, but it might just have been that, yeah. It was an interesting read. It was a really interesting read, and I do want to read more by River Solomon. Number 15 is a lesser known author, and for that I read The Conscript by Hailu, and it's a short novel about the forced recruitment of Eritrean soldier by the Italian government to fight the war in Libya that the Italian government was doing at the time, and it was immensely well written, really emotional, and really the way it described both the internal world of the characters and just the kind of like the viewpoint from an external, almost like a painting view of a certain scene, was absolutely masterful and really brought home the meaning of those circumstances. And it's something that I really needed to read as an Italian person, I think, because they don't teach us that in school. They really don't. They should, but they don't. Number 16 is oldest addition to the TBR. I still haven't fulfilled this, but this is quite, I know which book would fulfill this prompt, and is Change the World Without Taking Power. I don't remember the author at the moment, but it is a non-fiction book about political activism and political engagement. I have read, I think, half of it, so technically it should be in my currently reading pile, but I know that because that was years ago, I want to say like 5-6 years ago, I will probably reread it from the start, so I don't count it as currently reading. I don't think I will get to it by the end of the year though, so this might, not be fulfilled by the end of the year. Then number 17 is a non-fiction, and for that I read White Tears, Brown Scars by Hamad, and it was on my TBR for a long time. It was really, really good, like really informative, without being dry. It talked about, how the concept of white tears came about, because it's from this writer. I think she was a journalist, and she wrote an article about white tears, what they are, what they mean, and then that article had a response of white tears, and so this book was kind of like a more thorough look at the phenomenon from a practical, visible response to making this phenomenon explicit, and like to make, after having made people aware of this phenomenon, how did white people respond, and kind of like how it reinforced the phenomenon itself. Sorry, I don't make sense. Go read that book because it's way more it's way more eloquent on the subject. But I loved how it really made something that feels very vague, in how it made it very clear and very recognizable, so you can tell people what they're doing even when they're not aware of what they're doing. So yeah, loved it. Then we have 18 literary fiction. I put No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. That's it. Sorry, I couldn't figure out my handwriting. No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. That's another one that I had on my digital TBR for a while. I liked the fact that it felt very autistic coded to me. I don't know if the author was autistic or the characters were meant to be autistic, like the main character, but I had to Google it, No Longer Human autism, like whilst I was reading it, and I saw a lot of people online having kind of that same feeling themselves represented in how the book was written, and how especially the main character was written. So that was surprising. I had no idea that was gonna be the case, so pleasantly surprised. Number 19 is longest book. Okay, longest book would be either The Ragged Trousered Philanthropists at 608 pages, or The Legends and Myths of Hawaii, The Fables and Folklore of a Strange People, 576 pages. I'm not gonna read either of these by the end of the year, I know, but it would be nice, but that won't happen. Then we have number 20, a graphic novel, and I put La Guardia by Nedio Corafor. I don't remember putting this on my digital TBR, but to be fair, I read it a while ago. It might be that I put it on my digital TBR, and then after a week I read it, and that's why I don't remember putting it there. I trust me from the past. Then number 21 is a romance book, and in all honesty, I don't know. I don't know if there is a romance book on my to be read pile. I'm sure that there must be. I just can't think of anyone off the top of my head. So that's why it's not fulfilled, because I don't usually read romance, and I mean there is one, but I don't think I'm gonna read it by the end of the year. There's a couple, like Make Room for Love, The Fatal Kiss. There are a couple, but I don't think I'm gonna read any of these by the end of the year. It's sad that even with this, I haven't read any book that would be considered a romance. even the other ones that I put here, none of them could be considered a romance. There's always next year. Then we have number 22, a Black British author, and for that I put All the Names Given by Raymond Antrobus, which is a poetry collection that I saw in a video by Olivia Savannah, Olivia's Catastrophes on YouTube, and I really enjoyed it. Again, it was when at the end of the year I started reading poetry, and I read this and I was like, oh damn, this is so good, okay. And that kind of like really made me aware of how much cool poetry was happening around me without me noticing at all. So really grateful for that. Then we have a translated book, and I put Set My Heart on Fire by Suzuki. I want to say Izumi Suzuki, maybe. And it was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It was very like John Didion. I think if you like John Didion, you would like this book. Very kind of Sylvia Plath type of thing. But I didn't enjoy reading it, but I was glad that I read it, type of thing, you know. Then we have number 24, Indigenous author. I am hoping to fill this with Brittany Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, which is on my currently reading pile, but I want to read that by the end of the year, and that was on my original digital TBR, so that still counts because I know where I'm at. I think I'm at 40%, so that would make me fulfill this prompt. This is a blind spot. I should read more. Like, it's not great that I did read other books by Indigenous authors. They were not from my digital TBR, but I have other, like I have quite a few books by Indigenous author on my digital TBR. I just have not prioritized them. So next year I might make it a point to focus more on that. Then we have most procrastinated book, number 25, which again would be The Ragged Trousered Philosopher, and I'm not gonna read that. It's over 600 pages. I'm not gonna read that. Sorry. But yeah, these were all the prompts and all the books I read to fulfill them. As you can see, I'll put a graphic up. I did one bingo on the second line, and I technically could do a bingo on the third column and on the third row by filling out the free space. I could also fulfill maybe something else. No, I don't think so, because a lot of the ones that are an issue are the oldest addition to the TBR, the longest book, and the most procrastinated book. And the longest book and most procrastinated book are really big books, so I'm definitely not gonna read those. But you know, overall is good. What prompts I found the easiest were anything with queer rep, classics, stuff that was like genre related, like poetry, sci-fi, stuff like, except for romance, because as I said, I don't read that much romance, so there's not that much romance on my digital TBR. But those were kind of like the easiest ones. And then the hardest ones were those that skewered towards like longer books, like the longest book, the oldest editions, the most procrastinated, because those tend to be the ones that I avoid because they are very, very big. But overall, I know I won't finishing it, but I'm happy with what happened. I'm happy with how I dealt with it, because throughout the year, it, like, having this really made me go look to my TBR, digital TBR, way more than in the past, because whenever I was stuck on not knowing what to read, instead of just being overwhelmed by 150 books, I could go on my bingo and be like, hey, if we read that, we might fill out a row. And then I would go look on my TBR specifically for those books. So it made it fun, and it made it less overwhelming. That means that I probably will do it next year again. I might focus it on the prompts that have not been fulfilled this year. I'm especially saddened by not having read any romance and not having read any indigenous author. So I might prioritize those two in like tackling it for next year, because I still have I want to say 140 books on my digital TBR. So it's not like, yes, 141. So it's not like I cleared out that much. There is still a lot for next year. Another thing I might do is focus it a bit more on plays, because I have quite a few plays that I haven't touched. I think there's only one play on this bingo, and there wasn't even like a prompt on read a play. So I do also wanna focus on that. Maybe I'll do more genre based, like thrillers or murder mysteries and stuff like that. But it's been really fun, and I hope this has been really fun to you, that it wasn't too boring. But let me know if it's something that you would like to do, and if you have any type of bookish bingo, let me know, because I love them. The main reason why I did this is to make a bingo. So yeah, let me know if you have any type of of bookish bingo or meme bingo, because I love them. And yes, thank you so much for listening to me. I'm gonna make myself another hot tea because my throat is screaming at me. I will see you next time. Bye bye.